to go on Wednesday.
Did you name captains?
We did. Going to do a little different this year. I had the players vote last week. Number 1, number 6, number 7, number 3 are going to be our 4 captains, and then we'll have most games do a game captain that the players will pick. But a lot of good guys in that locker room. A lot of guys got votes. A lot of leadership, positive leadership in there with a bunch of different guys. So feel really good about the health and the state of where we are as a team.
Is that different than how you've done in the past? Right.
Well, there's only 1 year. Yeah, it's a little different.
How so?
I picked them last year.
You guys have been building for Buffalo for a while now, but is there any extra excitement now that you're officially in the game week?
Yeah, I actually told them that energy in the building is really good, but we got to focus our energy the right way. You know what I mean? Because if you don't do that, then you might not maximize what you need that energy for. So they're locked into meetings right here, and we're gonna have a good practice today.
Sorry to dive back into the captaincy process, but what made you switch? Do you want the players to make those decisions?
A little bit different every team. Every year is kind of a year-to-year deal, but I felt really good about the players picking them this year.
Does anything change with you during game week? Less sleep?
No, we'll be ready to go. No, I got my process. We tweaked a few things going into Thursday, but no, feel good about where we're at.
Is Tip back?
Yeah, he's not going to go today, but he'll be ready to go on Wednesday. He's one of the bumps and bruises. Just being safe with him. Make sure he can practice fully Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and play on Sunday.
Outside of the guys on IR, is there anyone you're worried about for their availability center?
Zay Weaver's got a little bit of nick in his oblique, so he's not going to be out there today, but he should be ramping up here as we get going.
Coach, the Bills have had a lot of changes in the roster in the offseason. How's this team look?
Yeah, they got good players. I mean, they have had changes, but they got 3 good units. They got premium players on all 3 phases, so we're going to have to be on it. It's a good team.
Outside his health, has there been any area in which Kyler has shown the most growth over the last several years?
Man, I think everything, operation, command, playing fast, knowing the why behind everything, playmaking. I'm excited for him.
When you're getting planning for a team week 1, you don't have up-to-date game tape, so do you take preseason tape? Do you take last year's tape?
Everything, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you look at the coordinators, I know Bobby's going to call it for the first time where Sean's, Leslie was calling it, then the head coach was calling it, Bobby's going to call it. But Joe Brady took over last year. But we played him. I played him in Carolina when he was calling it. He's kind of that new Sean Payton tree, New Orleans tree. He's really good. He knows how to get his guys in spots to make plays for him. So you look at all of it, Donnie. Truthfully, you know what I mean. You kind of look at the preseason and you look at last year, and you go back. You do deep dives on everybody.
When a team changes play callers, can you go back to if they were previous teams, can you go back and look for their tendencies at their old teams, or does it change completely?
You can a little bit, but that's one piece to the puzzle. It might not be weighted as much as last year when Joe was calling it. You know what I mean? But yeah, you go look back at different things and different things that you thought they did a good job of, or what he did to you when you're going against people. You know what I mean? So there'll always be week 1, week 2, the first month. Some unknowns, you know what I mean, but that's early part of the regular season in the NFL.
Would you have a 2-day trip change your preparation this week or change the plan getting into Sunday?
Nothing for us. Just we got to travel a day earlier. We do that. We'll get there. We'll practice Friday, get on a plane. It's really just to get them adjusted to East Coast clock. But Saturday we'll bump it back a little bit, let them sleep in a little bit, but it's kind of the same process that we do if it was a 1 day or even at home.
You've been through a season where you're coaching out here in the West. Obviously, you've had some East Coast time zone coaching gigs. How different is that for you, like on a case like this where you're leaving early and
you get used to it quick. I mean, we did it last year, I think 4 times. We're going to end up doing it this year 4 times. So it's just, they know the schedule, what's expected, why behind we do it. and they're on board. So once you do it the first time, you kind of get your process of how you like to do it, and then kind of go from there.
Where do you even begin to strategize for a guy like Josh Allen?
Yeah, everywhere. You know, he's he can make a lot of plays. You know what I mean? And if you're not right with rush mechanics, he makes you pay. You got to be on the coverages because he can throw it anywhere. Big, strong guy, makes plays with his legs and his arm. Really good player.
With the captains, just to, like you said, 1, 6, 7, and 3. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So there's no one on special teams. Is that by design or just the way?
The way it kind of kicked out, but we'll have. There's a bunch of leaders on special teams units, and those guys will be into game captain roles, and it doesn't just have to be special teams. But like I said, that's why I wouldn't read too much into that. We got, you know, a lot of guys that pop off my mind that could be captains that got votes to be the captains. Just how we decided to do it. But there's a lot of leadership in that locker room, and they'll act like the captains do. You know.
When will the additional guys be chosen for this week? Saturday night.
Back to Josh. Back to Josh Allen for a second. What are the things that you have to do better as a defense when you're going against a super mobile quarterback like that?
The first thing is just you got to be very aware of your rush mechanics because his ability to extend plays and get out of the pocket. So, I mean, really that, Teo. I mean, you got to, whether you're 3-man, 4-man, 5-man, 6-man, 7-man, like you got to be detailed out with who's doing what, who's responsible for what. And you got to rush together very well because it does you no good to one guy win a one-on-one and then him escape through a B gap or an A gap or out the other back door, and it's kind of wasting the rush if the other guys aren't you got to be coordinated with that. So anytime you're playing a mobile quarterback, that's always the first thing that comes to my mind is rush mechanics.
With everyone wondering about the whole kickoff rule and all that, and then some thinking that there'll be teams just decide to kick it in the end zone, how much discussion is there with you and Jeff just about that part of the strategy of deciding how you'll handle it?
A lot. We just had a meeting today because you're going to have wind in Buffalo too. A lot of wind. It's not like it's how did he phrase it to me? Like the wind there is game changing, you know, not game altering. So we got to have a plan for if we're with the wind, without, you know, if it's at our back or if we're into it. I like where we're at right now, but that's kind of the thing. You know that it could be a real thing on game day. Got to have a plan for it.
The focus has to be on this week's opponent, though. A lot of coaches will talk about maybe breaking the season into segments to set goals that they ought to keep to themselves or share with the players. What's your process?
I don't do that. We don't do that. You know, we got to win these next 4 games. Like, what are you really doing? So we take it one day at a time, one game at a time. 17 rounds to me. This is round 1.
With that kickoff, is one of the big things, I don't know how much has been discussed yet, an end of the game situation where you might be a team that just scored to tie or go ahead by a field goal or less, and then the decision what to do with that kickoff.
Yeah, we played it different in preseason. You guys saw that. You know, and not just at the end of the game, at the end of the half. Different teams are going to do different things. I think that's goes into adaptability, like, you know, who you have, who they have, wind, score, you know, who's the other quarterback, who's your quarterback, all kinds of things go into that, Howard. Good question. That'll change from week to week.
After 3 preseason games, what's your comfort level with that?
Very comfortable. I think it's going to be an advantage for us, both phases.
Coach, when you get a bonus Monday like this week, or maybe after the bye week, or any time during the season, what stands out is like the biggest benefit of that, saying, oh, we get to do X, Y, or Z?
Work on our own game, honestly. I mean, we are going to work a little bit on Buffalo on a practice field today, but not a ton. We'll save that for Wednesday. Just get back in the lab, and you're working on your own technique and operation, and you know, just breaking a sweat again. You know, they were off 3 days, so we'll be smart with them today.
What have you noticed be the biggest difference in this season compared to last as you get ready for a new season?
One day at a time. One day at a time. I don't know if that's a big difference, but one day at a time. Okay. Thanks, guys.